If your AC is blowing hot air, let O'Reilly Auto Parts help bring back the cool this summer. While you may need to eventually service your AC unit, get immediate relief with Interdynamics Arctic Freeze R134A refrigerant with leak sealer. Buy one, get one free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
If your morning drive's like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride and an afternoon's an extraterrestrial alien encounter, beware, you're not at Disney's Magic Kingdom. 1,500 people are killed annually from aggressive driving outbursts or road rage. American College of Emergency Physicians has some advice. De-stress by giving yourself extra time. Avoid driving when angry, upset, overtired. Don't tailgate, block passing lanes, or overuse your horn. Come on, prevent road rage and save lives. It's a small world after all. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Taking a back seat used to mean second best, but no more. I've got news that'll make the back seat a happening place to be. When I come back, I'll tell you all about it.
O'Reilly.
If your AC is blowing hot air, let O'Reilly Auto Parts help bring back the cool this summer. While you may need to eventually service your AC unit, get immediate relief with Interdynamics Arctic Freeze R134A refrigerant with leak sealer. Buy one, get one free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
If drive-in movies were the last time you had fun in the back seat, you're in for a treat. Visteon's aftermarket rear seats entertainment system offers a fully integrated mobile entertainment system packaged in a center console. It features a 6.4-inch flip-up LCD screen, a video cassette player, and video plug-and-play capability. Now your kids can play Nintendo on long trips, and you can enjoy drive-in movies from the back seat without ever leaving your garage. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. It's raining cats and dogs. You're slowing down, being careful, but you hit a wet patch and there you go, hydroplaning. Now, what causes it and what can you do about it? When we come back, I'll tell you.
O'Reilly.
If your AC is blowing hot air, let O'Reilly Auto Parts help bring back the cool this summer. While you may need to eventually service your AC unit, get immediate relief with Interdynamics Arctic Freeze R134A refrigerant with leak sealer. Buy one, get one free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
When tires meet road water, they can do two things: channel the water and remain on pavement, or skim on top of the water. Hydroplaning occurs when tires, especially bald ones, ride on a wedge of water and lose contact with the road. Your car is literally skiing in the street. When this happens, take your foot off the gas, but don't brake. Braking can cause your car, and sometimes you, to spin out of control. But the best way to hedge against hydroplaning is to equip your car with well-treaded tires. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Lime green, smoky black, pomegranate red, and crystal clear. If you're thinking fashion colors for spring, back up and think car fluids. And when I come back, I'll tell you all about them.
O'Reilly
If your AC is blowing hot air, let O'Reilly Auto Parts help bring back the cool this summer. While you may need to eventually service your AC unit, get immediate relief with Interdynamics Arctic Freeze R134A refrigerant with leak sealer. Buy one, get one free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
The same spring shades you see on Paris runways can be found on garage floors. And these colors speak volumes as to current or potential problems. Lime green says, coolant, check your radiator. Smoky black whispers oil leaks, could be engine, differential, or power steering. Pomegranate or brownish red hints transmission fluid. And crystal clear may say harmless condensation, or may shout danger, your brake fluid's leaking. Make sure your car's in the pink. Catch these fluids on a newspaper for your mechanic to evaluate. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Water. We sail on it and wash with it. And in cars, it belongs in the radiator. But H2O in tires is dangerous. When I come back, I'll tell you all about it.
O'Reilly.
If your AC is blowing hot air, let O'Reilly Auto Parts help bring back the cool this summer. While you may need to eventually service your AC unit, get immediate relief with Interdynamics Arctic Freeze R134A refrigerant with leak sealer. Buy one, get one free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Water's just great in mountain streams, but when it sneaks into tires, the danger's crystal clear. Water and the dirt it carries can warp the inside of your tires. Here's how it gets in. Moisture collects in air pump compressors. When tire valves connect with pump valves, this unwanted water piggybacks right into your tire. To prevent this unwelcomed hitchhiker, jiggle the pump valve and release some air. If you get soggy, ease on down to the next watering hole. Service station. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
Welcome to today's broadcast. I was thinking before the start of the program, what are we going to do differently today? And really, a lot. Every show, every Saturday brings something new to the table. And today is no different. We're going to hear from Daytona because this is a big weekend. The Coke Zero there in Daytona. The Coke Zero Sugar 400. How about that? Terry Sabison's going to be with us when we come back from the break, and I want you to stick around. Hannah will be taking your calls at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. Going to have a great program for you. Gave away a terrific Super Chips, almost $400 gift last week to a gentleman in Alamogordo, New Mexico, and he was elated to win. And so I'm not giving away anything today, but I'll give you advice that'll save you money. So that is money in your pocket. Bobby Likis Car Clinic, brought to you in part by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Folks, summer heat's draining on your vehicle's battery. The rising temperature can cause battery fluid to evaporate. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and have them test your battery. It's free of charge. And if your battery does need to be replaced, the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts will help you find the exact Super Start battery that fits your vehicle at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. 888-227-2546 and Daytona when I come back. Your vehicle a little sluggish? Try Berryman's B12 Chem Tool. Using HEST or high-energy solvent technology, Berryman B12 Chem Tool dissolves gum, varnish, and carbon deposits in the fuel system to help restore lost power and peak performance. But don't take our word for it. According to Terry Kay, I use Berryman B12 Chem Tool on my parents' 2000 Chevy Impala with 140,000 miles. We noticed a marked improvement almost immediately. Learn more about Berryman B12 Chem Tool and other great products at berrymanproducts.com. Today's vehicles have more than 150 electrical accessories for safety, comfort, and sustainability, and much more than 20 years ago. Clarius is the world's largest producer of automotive AGM batteries that are precision engineered to meet today's electrical demands. Things like backup cameras, GPS, navigation, entertainment systems, and start-stop technology. AGM batteries have up to 2 times the life of traditional batteries and are non-spillable. When you need a battery, make sure you ask for an AGM battery to meet today's evolving electrical needs. Visit autobatteries.com for more information. Talking tunes. No, not the ones on your radio, the ones that allow you to reprogram your vehicle's factory computer without even popping the hood. The result is more power, more torque, and a better overall driving experience. We recently sat down with Jim McGinn, Vice President of Marketing for PowerTech. Jim explained that performance programmers aren't just for race cars.
While Super Chips Flash Pack is known for delivering impressive horsepower and torque gains on gas, diesel trucks, SUVs, and Jeep, one of the number one selling features of the product is added and increased fuel economy, whether you're towing, driving around town, or taking things off-road. The Super Chips tow tune allows you to eliminate excessive downshifting, run in a higher gear, downshift less, lower your RPMs, and as a result, save fuel. The Escape has changed for performance programming, and we're not just for race cars anymore. We add vehicle performance and efficiency for trucks, SUVs, and Jeeps.
You can learn all about the new Dash Pack Plus and other great performance programmers at superchips.com. That's superchips.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic today, folks. It's going to be a great day. Hannah will take your calls and put you in a queue, and I will put you on the air. I want to go directly from the center of the automotive universe, that would be Bobby Likis Car Clinic studios, to the racing capital of the world, to Daytona Beach. And with us is our special guest, our friend, longtime associate there at WNDB 1150 AM in Daytona, Terry Sabiston. Terry, it's my privilege and I'm excited to welcome you to today's broadcast. How's the weather in Daytona Beach?
Skies, nice breeze, probably 75, maybe 80 degrees. It's comfortable right now.
Well, I bet it's not comfortable for a lot of drivers. I bet there's a lot of anxiety in the back, in the pits and in the slips of the NASCAR cars. So tell us a little bit of what you've seen behind the scenes.
Well, where do you want to start? You want to start with last night's fireworks and the 250-mile race we had with the Circle K Firecracker 250 and 100 laps at Daytona of the Xfinity cars, with cars spinning and turning and wrecking and then all kinds of crazy, one after another, cutting through the grass. They're going to have to relay the sod out in front of the pit road sometime before the race today, because they chewed it all up after having about 2 inches of rain yesterday. Anytime they got off the track, they got stuck in the mud. You name it, it happened. It was an exciting race. And then a Florida native, Ross Chastain, took his car to Victory Lane, and he's a eighth generation watermelon grower. And so he took a watermelon and busted it right on the start-finish line after he won, and that's just last night.
Well, that may be indicative of what happens today and also this evening. So what's going on today, and what time is it? I know it's pre-race, but isn't there another race that's going to happen before the main?
No, that was last night. That was the Firecracker 250, and we need to take a break and take a deep breath and clean up the track and let everybody rest a little bit so that we can do it all over again tonight. The race rolls off 7:30 tonight, but pre-race activities are all afternoon. WNDB goes on the air at noon right after you go off, and we carry it right up until MRN takes it over tonight about 6:30. The guests we've got lined up are just amazing, whether it's race car drivers or team owners or Medal of Honor recipients or our pace truck driver, Hal Kushner, a POW from Vietnam that's a local doctor here. Got to meet with him a couple weeks ago when he was learning how to drive the pace truck out there at Daytona National Speedway. And it's so much fun seeing somebody that's new to this or knows about it, but to get to lead these guys to the start-finish line and start the race, that's just got to be an amazing experience. And that's the fun of Daytona. There are so much new things. Even I've done something new at Daytona here in the past couple of weeks. I got to drop a fishing line in Lake Lloyd and go fishing with David Reagan and a bunch of other people out there, and actually caught me. Well, I'm not proud of the little fish I caught, but they were catching some nice bass out there, and it was a neat day at Daytona National Speedway. And for me to do something new at Daytona, I've never been fishing on Lake Lloyd, and it was a gorgeous day for it. And that's part of the whole atmosphere. There's just so much going on here at the Speedway. You can't stop. You keep looking for more, and then they throw a race in the middle of it.
It really is something else. And Terry, you mentioned something about the Hal Kushner. And folks, just for your information, and Bill France started this in the 70s, recognizing different military folks. And for instance, this year, the Command Sergeant Major Gary Luttrell from Vietnam and Staff Sergeant Ronald Schur from the war in Afghanistan. And Terry, you mentioned Hal Kushner. Now, folks, I know a little something about Hal Kushner, and this is the 4th of July weekend. So he's a Daytona Beach Shores resident who served in Vietnam. He was held captive as a prisoner of war for 5.5 years, and he's the honorary pace truck driver for the Coke Zero Sugar 400. And he's a Silver Star, Bronze Star, Purple Heart, and Republic of Vietnam Cross of Gallantry winner. And it's amazing. He was inducted into the Army Aviation Hall of Fame in 2001, and that's Army Colonel Hal Kushner that you mentioned. And
he lives there, so that's got to be a fun event for him. But when you think about being held captive for 5.5 years, he deserves to speed around the track wide open.
I talked to him earlier and said, "What's it? Have you thought about what it's like to leave all that power behind you around the track, knowing that you're the guy that's holding them back and keeping them from stepping in the gas?"
Yeah,
and he
really?
said, "I really hadn't thought about that. I don't like that idea."
So now on the track, I understand the playoff chase, the race to make NASCAR's playoff continues, and leading the way, as I understand, Joe, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Terry, Joe Gibbs Racing, Kyle Busch, and Martin Truex Jr. Have shown dominance in the Monster Energy, the NASCAR Cup Series, because they've each posted 4 wins, and then Hamlin's going for his double win, right?
Well, yeah, the double win is big because he won the 500. That's only been done like 5 times, and yeah, Joe Gibbs Racing is just they've set the standard, and you've got to compete with that. Got to give Penske some credit. They're doing pretty good. Joey Logano's leading the points, but getting that many wins, it hadn't happened to him yet. But this is a good track for him, and from what I've seen, Joey Logano got out there in the practice we had, and then he showed his stuff, and I think that's a guy to keep an eye on today is Joey Logano and that Penske. And then Brad Keselowski. Brad Keselowski's had a little incident in practice and basically said, "I'm not going to lift. If you get in front of me and you try and block me," because he hasn't finished well in these races because maybe he has lifted a few times, and it's time for him to keep his foot in the gas, and you're getting his way. He's going to push you out of the way.
Well, you mentioned about the double, going for the double. Folks, the double is where you win the 400, the Coke Zero Sugar 400, which is today, and also you've already won the Daytona 500, and there are only a handful, Jimmy Johnson, Bobby Allison. These are famous people. Bobby Allison, Fireball Roberts in 1962. What a name. Cale Yarborough and Leroy Yarborough. Now, 2 different. It's not Yarborough and Yarborough, but in 1968, Cale Yarborough won. I was there and watched him. He was driving a Ford, and I've always been a Ford until I went to a Hemi. I was always a Ford drag race builder. So I happened to be, and I think I've told this story before, but it's worth telling again. I was with a friend of mine who was an avid Dodge fan. And so as I remember that last lap out of number 2 turn, Richard Petty was driving the 44, right?
43.
He was driving the 43, and Cale Yarborough was driving the Ford Fairlane, or whatever car it was, but it was Ford. And I will tell you, I kept beating on in my fist, and lo and behold, I was sitting behind my friend, and I was beating on his head. It's a true story. And then finally, at the end of the race, he turned around, he says, "Well, Likis, that's one way to win a race." He says, "But now I'm going to have bruises all over the back of my head." I said, "Well, that's because you don't race a Ford, which is first on race day." He said, "No, it's found on the roadside dead." You know how that story goes.
Yeah, one way or the other, either way. But that's part of it, is that passion, whether it be, I was there in 1984 when Richard Petty won his 200th race, and Ronald Reagan was there. And you talking about an emotional experience, just being there. But watching him win, and then what happened afterwards, and the President of the United States there, that was a moment that I hold and I treasure at Daytona that you just don't ever forget. On the 4th of July, you get to see the President of the United States and the King, Richard Petty, win the race. And it's his 200th win. So those are the moments that you savor, and like you say, honoring the troops is so much a big part of this.
It is.
There's so much going on along those lines. I think they're going to do a salute parade lap where all the crews are going to get up on pit wall, and the fans will salute them during the pace laps for a lap, and just so many extra little things like that. They have on the Xfinity cars last night, they had names of military squadrons on the front of the windshield, on the top of the windshields. They've just done so much to honor the troops, and they're part of it. You see the troops out here everywhere, and they're part of the show. They're part of what this is, and it's about them. And you tell them, you see everywhere you go, thanks for what you do, and thanks for your service. And it just gives you some pride on the 4th of July to be part of Daytona International Speedway.
Well, speaking of part, reach back way back in the regions of your mind that you normally wouldn't share. Who's going to win?
I've got to make my pick. I'm in a fantasy league at the World Center Racing. I hadn't made my picks yet, and I can't pick a couple drivers because you can only use them 10 times, and I have. But Joey Logano, I think, is a hot guy to watch. I think Brad Keselowski's thrown down the gauntlet and said, I'm going for this. Don't get in my way. I think those are two guys to watch with Penske Racing. But in true honesty, I think the Hendrick Chevrolets. I think look out for the Chase Elliott's and the Jimmy Johnsons and the Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman just came off his first win last week. He's always run good here. So I'm thinking along the lines of Chase Elliott is my pick for this race.
Well, we got to go. It's always great talking with you, Terry. Thank you so much for joining. So have a great day, and appreciate you as always, my friend.
You talked me into it, Bobby. Thanks a lot. And tune in. We go on the
Insurance 101. Grundy Insurance. Grundy's agreed value insurance does not deduct for vehicle age or expected wear and tear when evaluating a loss. They know there's a greater likelihood that your collector vehicle's value will increase over time. Grundy also understands the cost to repair or replace your collector car can change. Their collector car policies feature a built-in inflation guard, which in recent years has automatically increased the insured value of one's vehicle by 4%. Learn more at the Insurance 101 section at Grundy.com.
These are the sounds of someone taking their eyes off the road. Texting while driving is more than distracting. It's dangerous. Do us all a favor. When you're on the road, stay off the phone. A message from CTIA, America's Wireless Companies, and the National Safety Council.
This car repair spotlight brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. This week, a 2011 Smart car came into the shop with 135,000 miles and grinding noises during stopping. Bad brakes? Nope. A road test determined this little Smart car had a bad right front wheel bearing. For such a small car, the noise sounded like an F-250. Johnny Bars, Master ASE certified technician, disassembled both hubs, only to find the bad bearing had also damaged the front brake pad, wearing unevenly. Time for, you guessed it, a call to our local O'Reilly Auto Parts professional for new parts. We were worried they might not have Smart car parts, but our O'Reilly Auto Parts professional told us not to worry. If the parts weren't in stock, their team would locate them and deliver them soon as possible. What a great relief that was. The very next day, repair done, vehicle quiet, and Smart car owner safely back on the road. Another great reason why our first call for parts is O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
I'm 98.
Higher.
Higher at 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Guilty. I am guilty of walking all over that commercial, but I didn't do it by myself. Terry Sabiston, he sabotaged us. He sabotaged us. He and I think we could talk for 20 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour on what's going on in Daytona. That, folks, and that's live. And our brakes are hard brakes. So whenever you hear the music in the background, Fabio already has that disc running. So those are already, so I got to get out. And one of the things that I really enjoy, I have a fun time doing, so, shoot me if you like, or love me if you will. I enjoy running it right up to that minute. So when I get on the air with Terry Sabiston in Daytona, he's the same way. I mean, he's so passionate. And you have to say, I mean, it's one thing to, if you want to see snow and you live in New York, Well, just hang around for a short period of time, and you'll see all the snow that you ever want to see. If you want to see sand in the ocean, live in Florida or on the coast somewhere, and sure enough, you can go see it any time. But sooner or later, you think, well, you get tired of those things because they become commonplace. That's just not true for Terry, and it was kind of exciting for him to like it was a big deal. I bet he caught a minnow. Fabio, what you bet? He said you heard him say, "I caught a fish." Well, it wasn't a big fish, he said. Now, Lake Lloyd. And so, folks, let me share this with you. Oh, and by the way, call and share your stories, and let's have some fun today. 888-227-2546. That's 888-227-2546. So, Lake Lloyd, and I've told this story, but I want to share it again. In the 60s, 69, I think it was 60s, when Daytona Speedway was built. Of course, because there's a lot of traffic in and out, the highway, the Daytona International Speedway and International Drive, that highway had to be widened. There had to be some exchange near the I-4, which is right down the highway a half a mile or so from the Speedway. There had to be a way for ingress and egress. That's to get people in and out of the track without causing absolute mayhem in traffic. So in order to build that track, the France family Bill France had to get help because it had to be approved by the Florida lawmakers. Well, sure enough, Lloyd, Mr. Lloyd, who owned Lloyd Pontiac Cadillac there at the time in Daytona, was connected, and he helped in the last hour. He helped Bill France to get the law not changed, but whatever had to be done. I guess permissions. Who knows what happens? But anyway, that's why, and that's where the name Lake Lloyd came from in the middle. So where did the lake come from? Well, to build the oval track and to build the track up, they had to have dirt. So they dug it out of the center. They dug it out of the center, and so they created Lake Lloyd. But for the life of me, I didn't know they had fish, real fish in there. So obviously they stocked the fish. I've never heard of an alligator in there, but it wouldn't they wouldn't do that. And I guess an alligator wouldn't. Alligators don't come by themselves. They have to migrate. So no alligators, but there are fish. Little tiny fish, I would imagine. But that's okay. It's all about the experience. And just like when we talk to you folks on Saturdays, it's all about the experience. And it's not all about the experience. It's all about the experience and the fact that I share with you information that you can't get anywhere else. I mean, you just can't get it, especially at the price. And which is all you have to do is tune in. Speaking of prices, gas prices. Well, what a nice segue that was. Okay, Fabio, I owe you because you were out last week, and Jonathan ran the board. Did a great job, by the way. So we bet $1 million, I think it was what you said, or something like that. So I owe you $1 million. And I'd rather owe it to you than beat you out of it. So about gas prices, because two weeks ago, when the Iranian shot down the drone, I said, well, gas prices are going to go up. I mean, I just knew that. Well, last week, gas prices were the same. In fact, they were down from the previous week. I said, well, what is this? But I want to make the same bet today, so I get my $1 million back. That deal?
Deal.
Okay. So here are the gas prices, and they're up. I knew it. So the average price of gas is $2.73 across the nation. And in 7 of the 10 regions, price over, not last year, but over last week, are all elevated. So, that does have any of the world crisis or the news, it affects Wall Street, and it affects also the prices of gasoline that consumers. Well, who's a consumer? Well, you, me, Fabio, Hannah, Jonathan, we're all consumers, and we all. The neat thing about being a consumer, and think about it, is that we can choose where we spend our money. We choose where we get haircuts, where we eat lunch or dinner, where we shop for groceries or gasoline. Now, in the automotive repair business, we also choose our shops, whether it's a new car or an independent like I, or a chain store. But one of the things that people don't do is they don't choose the kind of parts that are put on their car. And you should. Now, when I say you should, when you know for a fact there's a better part that is available for your car, and I say a better part, what makes a better part? An award-winning company. And I'll give you an example. This is a good time to give you an example of an award-winning company, and that's our partner, Motorrad. I mean, they are an award-winning company. Listen to this. In 2016, they won the award at Apex, which is the Automotive Aftermarket Auto Parts Expo. I've been there for 22 years in a row there, and along with SEMA. So you've got SEMA at one location and Apex at the other, but it's all about automotive. So they won the award there. They also were honored in 2017 with the AutoZone What It Takes to Do the Job Right award. What it takes to do the job right. In 2015, GM Supplier Quality Excellence Award from GM. Now, obviously, GM spent hundreds of millions of dollars on radiator caps and thermostats and parts for their cars, and they bought some of those hundreds of millions of dollars from Motorrad. So if you're buying a part from someone and you give them an award, it means that, you pay them. So Motorrad got their money for their product, and yet GM says, not only are we going to pay you for these parts and put on our GM cars, we're going to give you an award of excellence for the part. That's a big deal. And then last but certainly not least, the Automotive Content Professional Network Award for 2016. So when you take your car to a service shop, think of thermostats and caps and engine sensors, variable valve timing solenoids, oxygen sensors. Why not buy the best part for your buck? The first time, every time. Motorrad. Check out Motorrad at motorrad.com. Let's take a call from Nebraska. And then I told you about gas prices, $2.73. Let's see, highest price $3.38 on the West Coast. But nonetheless, anywhere from 3 cents to 10 cents, anywhere 10 cents. Yeah, that's in the lower Atlantic. 10.8, so that's as close to 11 cents a gallon more than this time last week. And it's all because of what's going on the Straits of Hormuz, my opinion. So there you go. You owe me now $1 million. That's right, I owed you. So we're even. Fair enough?
Fair.
Life ain't fair. Let's go to Nebraska. Talk to Blaine. Blaine, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, well, I'm taking care of 3 vehicles, and they all need different viscosity oil.
Yeah,
so this F-250 Ford with a 5.4 engine calls for 520 oil.
Okay.
And since it's got 120,000 miles on it, I thought it might be just as good or better if I use 530 instead. I wouldn't have to stock so much oil.
Well, here's the challenge. How many miles on the engine?
120,000.
Okay, so after 100,000 miles, and this has been proven, after 100,000 miles, the tolerances inside an engine, today's engine, I'm going to say the last 10 years, which they're all built very snugly. The tolerances are much tighter than its preceding engines. So after 100,000 miles, then obviously you could use 530 versus 520. Here's the challenge with doing that. 530 doesn't flow as well in cold weather as 520. So the lower viscosity and the thinner, I call it skinny oil. I was chastised one time by a listener. Well, no such thing as skinny oil. Well, there is too. There's skinny oil and there's fat oil. Fat oil is 20/50. Skinny oil is 0/20. So, and what that means is it's thinner viscosity. And thinner viscosity, Blaine, flows faster on cold startups. So after your engine is warm, It doesn't matter because the heart's pumping because the oil pump does. Our hearts pump all the time. An engine's heart that pumps oil only pumps after the engine is running. So there's a point in time every time you start your car, there's no oil pressure every time, especially in the morning. So the faster you can have oil, it's called pumpable. Oil has to be pumpable, which means it has to be drawn from the oil pan, pushed into the passageways and ports of the engine, and then forced in between the nooks and crannies. That's the rod bearings, main bearings, cam bearings, rocker arms, and variable valve time. You know, I mentioned motor red and variable valve time solenoids. Those solenoids have tiny orifices. So quite candidly, the only difference between an old engine and a new engine oil would be a high mileage oil, because the high mileage oil would still be the same viscosity, but it would contain different additive packages that are there to protect an engine that had more clearances. So, you know, you got 3 different cars. You should stick with the viscosity that's called for, and the fact that you got 120,000 miles and no issues, you're doing something right. Why change?
Yeah. Okay. Well, they're like the 5-weight. If it's a 520 or a 530, at cold, wouldn't it flow the same in cold weather?
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. Yes, it would. Yeah. So here's the bottom line. If you want to use the 530, it won't hurt your engine. But I would recommend it. Got to go. I'm not going to step on this brake. An 02 F-150 came into the shop shifting erratically and slow to engage a few of its gears. The transmission fluid showed coolant, and a radiator coolant was low. The lack of cooling system maintenance had caused the transmission cooler tank inside the radiator to corrode and become porous, therefore mixing coolant and transmission fluid. As a result, the transmission fluid was contaminated, which led to transmission failure. The customer needed a transmission overhaul and a new radiator, an expensive repair that may have been avoided by regular cooling system maintenance. Now, considering this was a low-mileage truck that was very well optioned, the customer opted for the necessary repairs. We installed a new transmission and a radiator. We also flushed the entire cooling system and put in a new Motor Rad Ultrastat thermostat and a new Motor Rad cooling system pressure cap. The truck is now running fine. This repair spotlight is brought to you by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats, closure caps, and engine management. For more information, go to motorrad.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain roll aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We were talking to Blaine before the break, and so he has several different cars, and one called for 520 and the other for 530. So he sort of wanted to, and the one that called for 520, I think, had 130,000 miles on it, and he'd like to, just because it's more convenient, to go with 530. And I thought through the break, and he made a really good point, and so I have to agree with Blaine. So if you're still listening, you went away. We were going to hold you through, but I didn't have time to ask you to stay. But the bottom line, it's okay. You got a Ford F-150 or whatever it was with 120,000 miles. It cost for 520. It would be okay to use 530 at 120,000 miles. Here's the challenge. So if that's what you'd like to do and it's more convenient to you, then I would say okay. Here's the problem that I have with saying that it's okay. Someone else will have the same vehicle with 20,000 miles on it rather than 120,000 miles, and they would not probably have heard you say, yeah, my car's got 120,000 miles. They wouldn't hear that 120,000 mile statement. All they would hear is, it's okay to use 530 in a vehicle that calls for 520. And it is not okay. It is not about engine wear. Now, I'm talking out both sides of my mouth. It's okay for you at 120,000 miles to use 530. For all intents and purposes, it's not going to hurt anything. However, having said that, there are cam phasers, variable valve solenoids that have small, tiny orifices. These orifices don't wear. They are fixed orifices, so they get restricted. In fact, if there's any sludge, so just the hint of a heavier oil. Granted, they're still 530 and 520 is still 5-weight cold starts. Blaine, you were right on the money there. Also, just like whether you got 530, 030, 1030, at operating temperature, all of those oils are 30 weight. All of those oils, because there are VI, viscosity index improvers, that are chemicals that get, like you make a little fist. They shrink up when they're cold, and that's how you can have multi-viscosity oil. Because when those VI improvers warm up, they expand. And that's how you can have your cake and eat it too. That's how you can have 5 and 30, or 10 and 30, or 0 and 30. But here's the bottom line. If you're driving a new vehicle that has 20,000 miles, or 30, or 50,000 miles, and it calls for 520, you should use 520. Just want to make myself perfectly clear, because we have had, and we had this in the last 6 months, as I remember, maybe even a couple of times, where people had their oil changed, car owners had their oil changed, and immediately following the oil change, and I say immediately, could be the next day or the next week, but soon after, the check engine light comes on and the engine starts to run poorly. And sure enough, it would be a cam phaser. We had one gentleman that brought his truck in, and he had the oil changed at one of those fast in, fast out places. And wait a minute, I'll take that back. He'd had it changed, he said, at a dealership. However, I did not see, and nor did my team, a sticker on the vehicle. That's highly unusual, because one of the things that we, not that we're human so we can make mistakes, sometimes we forget to put a new sticker on a car. And that's a sticky point with me, no pun intended, because that gives us, number one, the stickers that we use are those stick-on that peel off static cling to the windshield. And you look up in your left-hand top windshield, and every time you look up, you see the mileage when it's time for your next oil change. You also see Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So you're riding around with my name there. So it's a good retention, customer retention. So I have, my own ulterior motive for having that sticker. So it's a double whammy for me if one of my teammates forgets to put a new sticker. And almost the last question of every oil change we do, did you put a sticker on? Did you put a sticker? Well, yes. But on occasion, there's, you forget all the yeses, and the one that says, well, no, I didn't. I'll get it now. So we now take the sticker when we write the repair order and tape that with a piece of Scotch tape. Chris does this, and Rusty, our service desk team, they tape it to the repair order so that when the technician services that vehicle and performs a digital inspection, which we do on every car, and then change the oil and filter, the sticker is already on there to stick on there. So getting back to that, this vehicle that we serviced and repaired for this gentleman who told us that the dealer had just changed his oil had no sticker on it. So did they forget, or did he change the oil? And I mean, who knows? You never know, because car owners don't necessarily give all the information to service shops when they take their car. Oh, really? Well, they don't. Just like when you go to a doctor, you share what's going on, but I'm sure there are occasions when you don't tell the doctor everything. And I know from having 48 years in the automotive service industry and business that car owners bring their car in and they said the check engine light's on. Okay, so one of the questions is, how long has the check engine light been on? Oh, it's been on a while. How long is a while? And you just stop and wait. And then a car owner sees that you ain't going to take no for an answer, or you're not going to take an open end for an answer. Well, actually, it's been on about 3 months now, as I remember. Well, 3 months could be 6 months. But the bottom line is that light comes on for a reason. And it doesn't just come on because the computer says, oh, let's turn the light on and drive this car into a service shop. In fact, of business, the ECM, the electronic control module, or powertrain control module, whatever you want to call them, depending on the different acronym, but they're all the same thing. The computer that tunes the engine sees glitches, and there's glitches all the time, 20, 30, 40. I guarantee you, I could take my car right now and run a report on it, and I'd have 15 to 18 trouble codes where rear seat heater didn't connect to the command center, or the left mirror didn't respond at one point in time. You ever tried something and it didn't work, and then you hit it again and it works, and you say, well, I didn't push a button right the first time. Wasn't you at all. Probably it was the car had a glitch. And that happens. We all have steering wheel controls, most of us, where you change the radio station, or on my control, you push it forward and it goes to another station or another track on the disc or another track on the input, because there are 5 AV inputs on my car. There also, the center button, you hold it down for 2 seconds or 3 seconds, and then it shifts from one input to another. So you can have satellite radio, regular radio, AM radio, FM radio, iPhone input for music, or USB plug-in for music. And then there's a virtual CD changer in my car. There is no CD changer, but I can rip up to 10 CDs and put them in my car, and it records them to the hard drive in the car itself. So there are times when it doesn't work, and then there are times where I have to turn the key off and let the system shut down. Well, when you turn the key off, the system doesn't shut down. Even when it turns off, it's not down. It takes about 3 to 10 minutes before those systems shut down. There's always something running in the background. And if you'll turn your car off in the silence of your garage, just, I'm talking about a late model automobile, turn it off, you'll actually hear in the background sometimes, and it goes, and if you had a voltmeter hooked to it, we do this all the time. Johnny Barris is the best I've ever seen. He's our master ASE certified technician. He'll actually, looking for a parasitic voltage draw, he'll look to see what's going on in the vehicle. And somebody says, well, is my car ready yet? No, we're running tests. Well, what do you mean? You had the car all day. Yeah, but you have to run a test, make a change, clear a code, check a connection, and then drive it through a drive cycle, which means you got to crank the car and drive it through. What's a drive cycle? A drive cycle is where you have to take a car out of the shop or out of your garage and drive it from normal cranking operating temperature, up to operating temperature. It starts, stops, and what have you. In fact, when you change oil, get this, on a Porsche, you crank it up to make sure there's no leaks with the hood open, right? Well, obviously, you do that. And then you close the hood, turn the car off, park it out, and then you check the oil by the internal buttons, right? You have to drive it 6 miles. You have to drive the car 6 miles after you change the oil and filter before the car will go back and tell you the level of oil. It has to go through 6 miles of driving before it will tell you the level of oil. And there are recently at another aftermarket class, and my team takes ASE classes quite often. Johnny comes in the next morning. He said, "Bobby, you're not going to believe this. The new Nissan, I guess the 18 or 19, has a system change in it, and if you crank the engine with the hood open." Really? Crank the engine with the hood open? Well, anytime you service an engine, you're going to have the engine running with the hood open, and shut it down. The the start-stop system will quit working for X amount of time. So don't be surprised if we service a customer's Nissan and he or she comes back in 2 days and said, "Since you serviced my car, now my start-stop quit working," because that will happen. Now, I know this because my start-stop quit working on my car after we serviced it recently. We did a 65,000 mile full service. You heard me talking about my vehicle and where I input the V8. I talk about Car Care Council. Car Care Council, carcare.org, is our partner of ours, and I input my VIN on that website, and I have my own in-house notifications, but I get a notification from Car Care Council from the website, and it's within 300 to 500 miles every time for 65,000. And then after I service my car, I go back in and I clear that and reset that at Car Care Council because it makes it really easy for me. I'm busy at work, so I'm busy taking care of other cars. And I love to take care of my car, but it sure is great to have a website like the Car Care Council that is my backup, and you can use it for you, because you don't have a shop. So for you, it's a great site. But getting back, so hats off to the Car Care Council. You should go to carcare.org and check it out for yourself. So the bottom line is, it's just always better to be proactive and service your automobile, and just understand that when you have a car serviced, don't have the car serviced the day before you leave, because there are ramifications. Have a car serviced a week before you're going to take a vacation. It's summertime, it's vacation time coming up. Make sure that whatever is performed in maintenance and services on your car has time to settle in, whether it's a new belt, a hose, a valve cover leak, a cam cover leak, balanced tires, alignment, that's a little different. That's a done deal. It drives right or it doesn't. But when you go into the architecture of a vehicle's electronic control systems and you change something or you put a new part, your car has to be initialized and it has to recognize that new part. And that takes drive cycles. Evap, if you got a bad gas cap and the light comes on and you put a new gas cap, but it's not going to go off immediately. It may take several drive cycles. Anyway, very interesting information. And speaking of interesting, Berryman products. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is partnered with Berryman Products. If your vehicle is a little sluggish or experiencing poor fuel economy, try Berryman B12 Chem Tool. It features an exclusive HEST, or High Energy Solvent Technology. That's HEST. Berryman B12 Chem Tool helps clean the fuel system, and it can result in higher compression, fewer repairs, that's a good thing, and lower operating cost. You can learn more about Berryman products at berrymanproducts.com. That was no test. And there will be a test at the end of most programs. I have to tell you that I really enjoyed today's broadcast, and I hope that you did. And another point that before I let you go, coolant and antifreeze, it's the same thing. Coolant stops your car from overheating in the summertime. That same liquid, which is antifreeze, stops it from freezing. And you can get orange, green, yellow, blue, greenish blue, pink, or red, and you can get it at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Color really doesn't matter, but you can look in your reservoir and determine what color you need. And if you're going to add coolant, you can go to O'Reilly Auto Parts and buy the 50-50 mix. You should not put straight antifreeze or coolant in your reservoir when you top it off. So, and if you've got a leak under the front of your vehicle or near your floorboard, and it's a coolant leak, have it repaired immediately, right away, because your car could run hot, which is not only inconvenient, it could cost you an engine. Hey, another hour coming up. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you're going to love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Folks, you know that tune-ups are often scheduled at 100,000 miles, but carbon constantly builds up on the valves and the combustion chambers inside an engine. Fuel injectors can also become clogged. Thanks to Berryman, with their 4-step professional air and fuel management kit, we can clean both the wet side, which is the fuel side, and the dry side, which is the intake manifold side of your engine. We use Berryman's 4-step professional air and fuel management maintenance kit to clean the fuel system and decarbonize both the wet and dry side every 30 to 40,000 miles. It features mass airflow sensor cleaner, air intake and throttle body cleaner, an intake valve and combustion chamber cleaner, and a liquid pourable professional fuel system cleaner. Learn more about Berryman's 4-step professional air and fuel management maintenance kit at berrymanproducts.com. That's berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition Le Mans. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's vehicle protection program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So I have some update for you on automobile. This is transplasma fusion injectors or VTEC cross-drill halogen fluid. Like high compression hubcaps. So I said that because there's the spark plug was invented like 100 years ago, and so there's never been anything, and still to this day there's not anything that is replacing a spark plug, however, and still come under the same cost effectiveness. But there is a new way to spark the ignition. It's a turbulent jet ignition. TJI. Remember TJI, because that's what the Formula One guys use. And I'll tell you a little more about that and how it works. And it's very interesting because the vehicles that we drive are dirty inside, the combustion chambers. And that's why manufacturers and partners like we have offer for sale cleaners for fuel and for oil and those sorts of things. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by FordParts.com, your single source for high quality and competitively priced parts for all major vehicle brands. You can see your dealer for participation and details. Find it, buy it, and get back to work. FordParts.com, your calls when I come back. Time for another edition of Cooling System Q&A, brought to you by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats and caps. Why is the thermostat so important? Cooling system regulates engine temperature and helps prevent overheating. While it's comprised of several components, the thermostat plays a critical role with efficient cooling system operation. It must regulate coolant flow properly to maintain a specific engine operating temperature, in addition to providing quick warm-up. Motorrad's new stainless steel thermal element UltraStat is unmatched for corrosion resistance. Its revolutionary Reax wax mixture provides quicker reaction time. The UltraStat also features bilinear valve technology, which prevents thermal shock to cooling system components, gradually increasing coolant flow versus instant maximum flow found in traditional thermostats. The UltraStat precisely controls engine temperature to ensure the lowest emission standards, maximum fuel efficiency, and terrific interior cabin comfort. The Motorrad UltraStat line is the perfect thermostat upgrade option with coverage for over 160 million vehicles on the road today. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service. We recently had an 09 Honda Pilot come into the shop with 169,000 miles on the odometer. The vehicle owner said the cabin was starting to smell like coolant, and he was concerned. Upon closer inspection, we found a heater core leak. Choices were to keep the vehicle and make a repair, which at best is half a day's labor plus parts, or sell the vehicle and buy a different used car that could have its own set of problems. We presented a third option, K-Seal. You've heard me talk about K-Seal before. Well, I don't just talk about it, we actually use the product in our service shop. It's a pour-in solution designed to stop leaks and help prevent future leaks. Other sealers use sodium silicate, which has the tendency to clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair the leak without clogging. Our customer went with K-Seal, and 1 month later, no more leak. Learn more about K-Seal at kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, brought to you by Super Chips and the Dash Pack Plus, which features a 5-inch high-definition screen and upgraded processor for a quick read-write speed and monitor refresh rates. You can learn more about Super Chips products at superchips.com. Let's go to New York, take a call from Bob. In the meantime, Hannah will take your call at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. Bob, thank you for holding. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Bobby. I'm one of your biggest fans, and this is like my third call on this car to you.
Well, I hope the car's doing well for you. I know you've had some questions about it along the way, but what's up today?
Well, I've got a P219A code popping up on a 15,000-mile Ford Focus 1.0 car. I'm wondering if that's common. I'm wondering if it's still safe to drive until I get to the dealer, which is an hour and a half away. And should it be covered under the warranty?
Yes. Any check engine light code that comes on with 15,000 miles and an 18 automobile is covered by warranty. Let me say this. And folks, this is for you to know as well, but especially with regard to the check engine light. If the check engine light comes on, of course, you're supposed to take your vehicle in, and that's the car warning you that there's a system that has failed or doesn't meet the specifications. It's out of the threshold of operation. But it doesn't mean you have to go in immediately. For example, Bob, you could take the gas cap off any new car and drive it, 50 miles, 100, until the light came on. You could put the cap back on, but it would take a couple of days probably before that light would go back off, because it has to, assure itself that everything is okay. So that's a way that you would know that, okay, I put a new cap on and that seemed to fix my car. The only difference is, and here's what the point is, when the check engine light is flashing, you cannot drive the car. You should not drive, or you should go directly to, and for example, if you're on the way there to the dealership and that check engine light starts to flash, that's when you'd pull over and you call roadside assistance. Got it?
I got it. Is it common for this to happen for a 15,000-mile vehicle?
No.
It's a
No.
air-fuel ratio problem.
No, but it could be a vacuum leak. It could be, here's the point, say 15,000 miles. Here's what the dealer will do, and here's what the OEMs are instructing their dealers to do. The first thing that they will do, of course, is they will read the codes in your computer. And the main code that made that light come on will be there, but there'll also be a half a dozen probably other codes that were little glitches that I talk about, quite often. Little glitches that stick in the memory of the machine, but don't reoccur enough times to make the light come on. So what they will do is they will, after they check the codes, and this is not just a code reader, this is using a professional OEM tool that gets into the architecture of the electronics. That's a lot of difference. So I just want everyone to know that when you go to a parts store and they read your code, all they're doing, and I made this analogy before, so at the risk of repeating myself, I think it's worth it. You and I are sitting, Bob, having coffee. We look across the street, and there's a house on fire. Okay, we just read a code. The house is on fire. But if we're first responders, we need to know where the fire started and go to the root of the fire, because it might be a gas main in the last bedroom. You see where I'm saying? So the first responder has a professional code reader that can get into the house or into the architecture. Therein lies the difference, and I want everyone to know that, because you can buy a phone reader for zilch, an app that reads the codes on your car. So what? So the house is on fire. Doesn't mean you know how to put it out or what caused it. So that's the difference between the professionals reading your car. Having said that, what the manufacturers are doing, they're instructing their dealers, technicians, to check for updated software packages for the car before repairing the car. Your car may or may not, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's not a software update that will not only correct the issue with that check engine light, but it will also correct what caused the check engine light to come on. And I'll give you one more little example because it's important. We are and because we've earned it, the de facto Lexus service shop in Pensacola, Florida. The dealer doesn't, they're in Mobile, so it's an hour's drive, and that's a hassle to go to the dealer. So for maintenance purposes and repairs, but not under warranty repairs, we service a lot of Lexus cars. We also invested in the factory software. So I have my team all of the software that the dealer has for the Lexus. So when a car comes in, a Lexus car, we automatically check for updates at no charge. If there is an update for that car, then we advise the owner, and then because we have to pay for that update, and then we advise the owner that, hey, you came in for a widget or for a door lock that doesn't work, but there's a performance update for your computer. We should do this, and then we charge for that service. And that really, we found just recently, we had a Lexus in for totally nothing to do with the engine. The check engine light wasn't on. It was for something that didn't work, like a door lock or trunk lock or I don't know what it was, but it wasn't to do. So in our mode of operation, our standard operating procedures, we checked for an update. And sure enough, there was an update. So we told the owner, he said, well, yeah, go ahead. You know what the update was? Well, no, but I'll tell you. There's a window, a threshold, where if you there's a target when you're shooting at a target range, and bullseye is a target. So there's a target for the glitches that occur in the electronics of a car. As long as those glitches stay within that target, the light won't come on, because there has to have the target, the size of the target has to be within a certain, you got the target, the bullseye, then you got a ring and another ring. So the outer ring would be the overall threshold that the problem would have to exceed or be outside of the overall outer ring. Well, guess what this software did? It made the target larger, and it made the outer ring larger. So any Lexus that has 50,000 miles on it, it can still operate under the manufacturer's specifications, but something that might not fit within the same target when it was new would fit if you made the target larger or the threshold larger. And yet, that's right. We were shocked, and we said, what's going on here? So you know what this does? It means that Lexus is making their owners happier because they don't have as many check engine lights to come on as Ford or Chevy. Why? Because they made the target larger. Does that make sense? Because that's exactly, it's true, it's fact.
It's like going to the range and making the target bigger and feeling comfortable with your sight.
Exactly, exactly.
Now, here's a question for you.
All right.
So the dealer's computer is able to pinpoint vacuum leaks and all that internally.
Sure. Well, yeah.
Okay. Well, if there is an update like you just mentioned, is that kind of thing covered under the warranty too? I'm on a fixed income, and
it is. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Because before a dealer can repair a vehicle, they are instructed to check for updates, and that update might be a larger target. well, wait a minute now. Let's think about it. You got a brand new engine, you got brand new wires, you got everything that's absolutely brand new, and it's pristine, and it's clean, and it's put together in an OR, in an operating room, in the hospital. It's clean. If you go into an aluminum like Ford truck factory now, you don't see all that. You don't see all those robotic machines and sparks flying and welding, because they glue those and rivet those cars together. So you don't even know you're in a factory anymore. What is this? It's an assembly plant. Henry Ford would be proud of Ford's aluminum manufacturing process, he wouldn't be proud of the fact that they bought JLR, Jaguar Land Rover, for $6 billion, and then sat on it for years and sold it for $2.4 billion to Tata. He wouldn't be proud of that. But hey, I guess they did learn how to make aluminum trucks, so at least they got something for their $4 billion loss in Jaguar. And those who buy Jaguars got a great deal, because we didn't buy a Ford Jag. We bought a Tata Jag, which is twice again better than the old Ford was. My thoughts. My experience. I gotta go. I got a hard break coming up, Bob. Thank you always for your call and for your kind words. Well, folks, we'll go to Jim when I come back, and then I'll take your calls. Hannah will at 888-227-2546. In the service bay this week, a longtime customer's 2000 Ford Taurus. He'd been complaining about a humming noise at highway speeds and grinding when he stopped. With 55,000 miles on the odometer, the driver's had the vehicle since new and never had any work done. No brakes, no suspension. A thorough inspection revealed a number of potential problems: a failing left front wheel bearing, worn-out rear brake pads and rotors, and the beginnings of a leaking brake caliper. Our choice to solve these problems? Motorcraft. Brake systems and suspension repair represent serious work you want done right the first time. Choosing quality parts is critical to ensuring vehicle reliability and longevity. Motorcraft quality brake and suspension parts are engineered for Ford and Lincoln vehicles. From the hub to the rotor, calipers, brake pads, and wheel bearings, Motorcraft quality parts provide you with the stopping power and stability needed for your vehicle. Learn more about Motorcraft brake and suspension parts at motorcraft.com. That's motorcraft.com. Motorcraft, right part, priced right. We recently performed a major service on a 1996 F-150. The vehicle had just under 200,000 miles on it. In addition to fluids and filters, we changed the spark plugs and boots, performed a cooling system flush, and replaced the thermostat, hoses, and drive belts. After a few weeks, the owner noticed a small leak coming from the area where the transmission bolted onto the block. Using a pressure tester, we found that coolant was seeping from one of the freeze plugs at the rear of the engine. This repair would require several hours of labor and another few days or so in the shop. Given the truck's age and the fact it was just in the shop for service, we suggested K-Seal, a one-step permanent multi-purpose system for coolant leak repair that won't clog radiators or heater cores. K-Seal stops leaks and can also prevent future leaks. After driving the truck for a week, the owner called and let us know the leak had stopped. K-Seal is available at fine retailers everywhere, like Napa Auto Parts. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip.
From Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I so thoroughly enjoy the calls and the interaction with you folks here on Bobby Likis Car Clinic. After 28 years, I've come to very much appreciate the interaction and the confidence and the trust and all of the things that make life not more fun, true, but more importantly that are important. And so the information that I share with you and the sponsor information and partner information that I share with you are products that I work and that I use at work. So I just want you to know that. And so it's very important, and I I want to use this time, and then I'm going to Jim, and I see Ray. We've got a couple of calls, and 888 Car Clinic. You need to get in now. But I want to share with you recently, Clarios, 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 bought out and acquired Johnson Controls. And so your AGM batteries and all the Optimal battery, that's one of their brands. When you think about the Optimal battery or Johnson Control battery, now Clarios acquired that company, and 1 in 3 batteries in the world power cars are from Clarios. That is huge. And there's one item, and the reason I want to share this with you, other than the fact that I'm excited about it, is I recently had a gentleman ask me what was the best battery charger to buy because he doesn't drive his car often. Well, that means that he needs a battery maintainer. He doesn't need a $500 shop charger that is one of those the size of a suitcase. So I have, and I just tried it on my personal cars, an Optima Digital 400 battery maintainer. It's the neatest, most beautifully made product that I've ever seen. You can mount it on the wall. It comes with a wall bracket. You can wrap the wires around it, and it has a Velcro strap that retains it so it doesn't hang on the wall and have a bunch of wires hanging down. There's a pre-charge condition where you hook it up. It automatically determines what battery's in the car, large, small. It charges AGM and or flooded batteries. And the little pre-charge button is really neat because you can see what the battery voltage is before you ever start to charge. Then you hit the main button. And then I kept sneaking out, true story, I hooked it up to my Jag, and I kept sneaking out last weekend and looking at the amperage. I left the hood open, and I looked at the voltage and the amps to see what it was. And sure enough, the voltage went from 12.7 to 13.5, and then the amps went from 4.2 to 3.8, and it finally got up to 15.2 volts, and it was like 0.8 amps. But it never did reach the fully charged battery, so I put it on my other car, on the little smart car. And sure enough, it brought it up in about, I guess, 4 or 5 hours or whatever it was. And I'd go out there, and it's a full tank or empty tank. And it's got LED readouts. It's the neatest. It really is a beautifully made vehicle, a beautifully made device for your vehicle. So if you don't drive your car often, you should get a maintainer, and you should buy the Optima Digital 400 that is provided for you by Clarios. Let's take a call from Jim in Michigan. Jim, welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you in the house today.
Well, I'm not in Michigan, Bobby. I'm in Mississippi.
Did I say Michigan?
Yeah, you did.
Well, I meant Mississippi.
Well, we're here though. But Bobby, I got a question. You ever had a car that that you really liked, and it just took routine maintenance to keep it going? And I've got a 2001 Town & Country. It's got a little less than 163,000 on actual miles.
Okay.
I keep it maintained. I've changed the struts, the brakes. I had to replace the torque converter because it got cracked. I flushed my transmission. I keep it going. But last year I had a problem with the air conditioner. It's got that back air in there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if it was front or rear that went out. Which one was it that went out?
Well, the back was leaking. I bought the burl plugs. I sealed the back off.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, however, that front air conditioner, Jim, when that evaporator goes out, now luckily mine never did, and I had 2 Town & Countries, but luckily mine never did. But it's in 11 hours, and I have pictures on our Pinterest boards. That whole dash is laying in the. I mean, it's like finding a body on the side of the road or a tree on the side of the road. The whole dash was laying in the front seats just to get to the firewall. But anyway, what's your question?
My pastor just went through that on an F-150. He had to pull the dashboard out twice. I said, make sure what you're doing before you put it back. But anyhow, I charged this thing up last year. I'm not going to call the auto store I went to, but okay. I went and I got a can of dye, put it in there to find the leaks.
Okay.
All right, it was leaking around the high and low pressure side going in the compressor. So I went to one of the local stores and I bought gaskets. I put these gaskets on there.
You did?
I pulled the vacuum on it. I let it sit 4 or 5 hours. When I charged it up, it was leaking like a seal, Bobby, around where you goes in the compressor.
Right.
I had to go back. I went to the Chrysler place, and they said, you got to have Chrysler gaskets. You can't take off-the-wall gaskets. I said, nobody told me this. So I had to order those gaskets. They come in. I put them on there last week.
Right.
I pulled the vacuum on it. I let it sit 4 or 5 hours. It was holding 29 pounds down to the ounce.
Right, right.
And I got trying to put Freon in there, and it didn't want to take it. But when it got taken, the compressor come on and run momentarily and then quit. And I had to change gauges to put the other 2 cans in there.
Mm-hmm.
And now the compressor still will come on every now and then, run for just a second and quit. I've checked the fuses. I've checked the relay. I've checked everything I know to check. Do you have any idea of what to do next?
Well, let me say this.
I listen to your show now for 20 years, and when I run into a problem I can't fix, I call Bobby Likis.
Okay. Number one, first, I have to say this. We never take compressors apart. We replace the unit because we can't have the same car coming back and back and back. So.
Well, I didn't take it apart. I just changed compressors.
Oh, I thought I changed gaskets.
I changed gaskets on the top of your high and low pressure line.
You mean seals? Line seals.
Oh, yeah.
Seals. Oh, okay. All right, I thought.
And they were leaking. Then I had to go by and order the ones for Chrysler.
Yeah,
but on there, they're not leaking now.
Well, yeah, I got you there.
The compressor won't come on and run steady. It come on and run just a half a second and click off.
All right. Then there is a switch that is a protector, so that when the compressor doesn't have pressure, it will when the system doesn't have at least 30 psi of residual pressure. In other words, and every time you turn the power on, it sends voltage to the clutch. But if the system didn't have any refrigerant in it, it would have no pressure. You wouldn't want to send power to the clutch because you could damage the compressor, because the system is made to protect the compressor when you're out of refrigerant, because you also could be out of oil. So my first and educated suggestion would be to replace the compressor high-low switch. That's
the one on the dryer, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, I tell you what I did try, Bobby. You know, on the older model cars, you could unplug that switch, take a wire, hook it up, the compressor would run.
Yeah.
I don't want to try this with a 3-wire because it'll kill the motor.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that because, and you know what, Jim? You're right. I have done that. And in the older cars, there was and in all cars, there's a temperature interrupt switch that when the temperature is below 35 degrees Fahrenheit, the compressor won't run.
Yeah.
So that if you're in New York, you're in Mississippi, but if you're in New York, hey, let me tell you, and you turn on the heat or the defroster, which automatically turns the compressor on, because the air conditioner does 2 things: takes the heat out and the humidity out. But when you're at 35 degrees or cooler, you can't have the air conditioner, because the air conditioner and the cold weather will outperform the heater in the car, and you can't drive the car. So there's a shutoff automatically. And Ford Motor Company had problem after problem with those ambient sensors. In fact, Mercedes, if you look at the front lower license plate, of course, there's no front plate in the state of Florida, so all of the older Mercedes, you'll see a little ambient tube sticking out where the plate mounts, and now that's what that ambient sensor is. Now, having said all that, you're right. You can't bypass that switch the way you used to, because the computer that sends the power to the clutch also lets the engine know that the clutch is coming on, so that the throttle air can open up the idle speed and increase the idle speed to make up for what the compressor is drawing. You see what I'm saying? So that's
I've purged my electrical system twice to reset that computer.
Yeah.
Thinking this might help. Yeah. No luck.
Yeah. Well, replace that switch, and it's not a costly thing. You still have to evacuate and recharge, but you got that.
That's no problem.
That's no problem.
I can recover my own Freon. And when I get it out this time, I think I'm going to clean that system. I'm going to wash that system out.
Well, if I were you, I wouldn't do any more than what it takes to make it work. If the old compressor was leaking and it didn't destroy, the system shouldn't be that dirty. And so, you know, I wouldn't. My concern is that you're going to take more. You're going to have multiplicity of potentials to cause other problems. So only do one thing at a time when you're.
But can you check that switch, Bobby? Is there any way to verify that it's good or bad?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I can't tell you how to do that on air. It's too time consuming.
You can't do it with it on, neither.
No, just replace it.
Got you, Bobby. Well, look, y'all, I hope you had a good, safe 4th of July. You sounded good in South Mississippi. I really enjoy your program,
I appreciate you. Take care. Thanks for your call, Jim. Always. 888-227-2546. I know that, Ray, you're on the phone, but we got a hard break coming up, so I'm not going to put you on the air until we come back from the break. Thank you for your patience. Now's a good time to let you know that O'Reilly Auto Parts has a July the 3rd through the 7th sale. $19.95, 5 quarts, mobile super synthetic. That's cool. That's a great price. But here's something that I think is even better. Whether you use Mobile One or regardless, they have an oil change kit, a $6 oil change kit, which I thought was really interesting. What is an oil change kit? It's a drain pan, a funnel, shop towels, and hand cleaner. Well, how cool is that? I mean, you can use that for a lot of things, not just for oil changes. But anyway, O'Reilly Auto Parts. Check them out at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. And I'll be back. Don't touch that dial. Talking tunes? No, not the ones on your radio, the ones that allow you to reprogram your vehicle's factory computer, giving you more power, more torque, and a better overall driving experience. We recently sat down with Jim McGinn, Vice President of Marketing for Power Tech. Jim touched on the role a tuner plays when adding an intake or exhaust system.
Anytime you add an intake or an exhaust system, it's important to make sure that you have a tune equipped to help those hard parts work well together on your vehicle. The magic and beauty of the Diablo Sport tuners and the Reaper Stage 1 kits are that you get an air-fuel mixture that is already designed and engineered for the particular setup that you may be running to electronically compensate for the intake and the exhaust on your vehicles. Diablo Sport Jammer intake tunes make tuning easy anytime you add an intake or an exhaust.
Whether it's the Predator, the Intune i3, or the Trinity 2, you can find the perfect tune at DiabloSport.com. That's DiabloSport.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We'll take a call from Ray in Mississippi. In the meantime, now's a great time for you to get in at 888 Car Clinic. Hannah will take your calls at 888-227-2546, and I'll put you on the air. Ray, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you for holding.
Well, I sure appreciate your show. I listen to it on KREI.
Terrific.
Farmington, Missouri.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate that. I had you in Mississippi, but it's Missouri, which is MO.
Well, you had the other guy in Michigan.
Well, yeah. Well, we're teaching Hannah the difference between MO and MI and MS.
Oh, there we go.
And years ago, we used to use the AR, an AK for Arkansas. And I mean, when you abbreviate, the Gentner, which is what we use to type, doesn't have you don't spell out words. So, we abbreviate. And so that's where I pick up my information from. And so she's learning, and we're teaching her what the state abbreviations. We're going to print out her a sheet this week, so it'll be easier for her. What can I do for you?
Say, I've got a 99 Ford diesel F-250.
Okay.
And I'm having a problem with my radio, but I'm thinking it's a power window. Would that be some kind of ground? Every time I push the button on the power window, it's just static, and it just does not clear up. Does that be a grounding issue?
Could be. Sure could be. So let me understand, your radio, are you referring to the AM side or the FM?
AM.
Yeah, FM. See, AM is very sensitive to interference and to grounds. Quite candidly, you could have a defective radio. There are filters, but don't buy a filter. There are filters that you can buy online that filter out RF or static out of AM. But every time you add a filter to an AM radio, you dull out the sound of it. It takes all of the highs away, and pretty soon, that's right. You can't hear anything. And years ago, on Alpine, Alpines were very sensitive to RF, and we had to include filters, and it was always a challenge. And quite candidly, it turned me off Alpine. Then Alpine later on had their own upgraded radio, and this was on a particular car that I and some other guys owned. It was a timeshare car, it was a Ferrari, which was really kind of neat. We had a club and yada yada. But anyway, so here's the answer. You may not have a vehicle problem. You could possibly have a radio problem. I'm trying to think what you could do to determine it. Let me ask this question. If you operate the power window from the other side, you still get the same noise on the radio? Have you tried that?
No, I haven't, because I've never been much of a passenger. I've usually drive.
I know, but we're in the diagnostic mode now, so you got to do this. So
well, I can try that.
So now here's what you want to do. You want to keep everything equal, just like I just told the gentleman, Jim from Mississippi. Don't do two things at one time if you're in the diagnostic mode. Because you could fix one thing and create another. So here's what I want you to do, Ray. Like if your truck was running in your driveway, and you listen to the radio and you work the window from the driver's side without the car moving, it's going to make noise in the static, right?
Yes.
Okay. Don't change. Make it make noise. Okay. Makes noise. Then don't change anything. Just move over to the passenger side and work that window and see if it makes noise.
Okay.
If it does, then you don't have what's common about that is the radio, because the right window and the left window are not connected
Granted, there are relays involved and switches involved and power draw involved and grounds involved. But the left door doesn't know what the right door is doing and vice versa. So if you have the same noise in the radio that can be duplicated by the right side versus the left side, either or, chances are it's in the radio.
Okay.
And
now, I did have a problem with the passenger side radio, and I bought one from O'Reilly, and it maybe 2 or 3 different times I had to take it back to them, and they finally got it right. And so
the passenger side radio, you mean the passenger side
window
switch? Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. All right.
So I don't guess that wouldn't have anything to do with it.
No, I really don't think so. So again, you duplicate the problem from multi-switches, which means that the problem is the problem and ain't the switches, because you couldn't have 2 bad switches or left, right side, and then that would give you the next step. And here's something else. You can find a used radio. If you go to a local radio shop there in Missouri, is that where you're from?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay,
it is.
now I can see. Thank you. There in Missouri, if you go to a local aftermarket radio shop, well, they're probably not going to have a radio to fit your car, but I guarantee you can find a used radio at a recycling yard for your truck, because the same radio that fits your 99 probably fits a 01, a 02, 04, a 98. You see where I'm going?
Well, it's got a disc player and
that doesn't matter.
Tape player and all that stuff.
Doesn't matter. I'll bet you can find a used one, because we saved. That's our first choice. When we have we had a vehicle recently that had a problem with the radio, and we bought a used one. Now, it was for a later model Buick, and the car wouldn't run after we put the radio in, because it was part of the security system. We had to reprogram the radio and introduce a radio to the car, believe it or not. And that was a strange one, but we're used to strange because we're in the business. But anyway, that's what I recommend.
That truck, I can't listen to you because you're on AM radio.
Well, you got to fix that. You definitely got to fix it. Okay, you let me know. Let me know what happens, and look for check your local recycler for another radio after you've verified that the same noise comes from either the left and or the right switch, because you can't have 2 bad switches, but you can have a bad radio.
All right, appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Thank you. Well, that's neat when somebody's bound and determined. The problem with my car is I can't hear you. How cool is that? That is okay. I mentioned this before, turbulent jet ignition. Now, it's too technical for me to try to explain visually, because we're not television, we're radio. So when you have an opportunity, just look up TJI, or turbulent jet ignition. Here's the problem with the car that you drive burning the fuel that you put in it. The spark, flame has to propagate. There's a flame front. And what that means is, if we're in a football stadium enclosed and we pressurize it and put air fuel in it, and you're standing at one goal post or at the end of the stadium and I'm at the other end, and somebody were to strike a match in the center of the stadium, we'd both get blown up. But if you struck a match on your end of the stadium and I was fast enough that I could jump out the door and close it behind me on the other end of the stadium, I could actually outrun the explosion, because it's not an explosion, it's a fire that starts at your end of the stadium and spreads across the stadium. It's called propagation. The problem with that is the fire is hotter on your end than it is on my end. And so if you're doing all this in split second, and like an engine does, where the spark plug is located is where the hottest part of the flame is, and as that flame spreads, it doesn't burn all of the fuel, and that's emissions. Think about it, because that's a really down-to-earth, lay-term explanation of flame propagation. So
the spark plug has been around forever, and there's been everything from platinum to iridium, copper center. I mean, all of the spark plug technology has really elevated through the years, but it's still the same methodology. You've got a voltage, 100,000 volts or more, jumping a gap, and that's the fire. That's what starts the fire. It's a strike, it's a spark. So what would be better? The turbulent jet ignition is a little pre-chamber the size of a spark plug that includes a spark plug and a pre-chamber. 98% of the fuel is in the combustion chamber, but 2% of the fuel is in the turbulent jet igniter. So because it's very small and it's enclosed. So go with me here. The end of the turbojet igniter has little holes, let's say half a dozen holes. So what you do is you put a really lean mixture in the combustion chamber so that you have have more air and less fuel, so you get less heat in the combustion chamber, but you still have the same power because you still have a fire, and the fire is started inside the TJI, the turbulent jet igniter. It started inside because the spark is in there, and then rather than having a spark ignite the combustion gases in the combustion chamber, you have burning gas that blows out of these holes. So what you've got is a blowtorch with 6 little torches that blow at the same time, and that way that will ignite a lean chamber that normally you would have problems igniting, because the leaner the chamber, the drier the chamber, the more misfire you have. Think about this. If I'm standing barefoot on a wet concrete floor and I put my fingers in a 110 volt socket, I'd be a fool. Well, I'm not saying I'm not a fool sometimes, but I mean, okay, I have done that, but not barefoot. But if I'm standing in this studio where I am right now with rubber sole shoes on and carpet that has rubber mount, and I put my finger in a socket, I can do that without getting shocked. I can feel a tinge and a tingle, but that's all. I've done that. Now, the humidity in the air has to be drier than normally, because normal in Florida it's 80% humidity. So if you're in a 50% humidity and you have rubber sole shoes on, you will not get shocked. Now don't go do this. Don't try this at home. I've done this. But here's the analogy and here's the comparison. The more air and less fuel you put in a chamber, the less and fewer emissions come out the tailpipe. But you also stand the risk of that cylinder misfiring, and that's why in cars that are older and that had carburetors and electronic controls, and then the early fuel injection systems, and even on today's cars when you get carbon buildup and there's uneven fuel distribution, like a partially plugged injector. I say partially plugged because they don't usually get completely restricted. The spray pattern goes crazy and they dribble instead of spraying and atomizing the fuel. Remember, you don't put the fuel in till the chamber cup, the piston comes up, and when you do, you got milliseconds to mix the air and the fuel and burn it. I mean, it's amazing that it even works at all, quite candidly, you know. So, having said all that, you can run a leaner mixture without having misfire because the turbulent jet igniter uses 6 flames that are ignited prior to the fuel versus a spark plug. So I just find it, there's 7 pages of information that I've absorbed somewhat this morning, and I know it sounds futuristic, but Formula One cars already use this. Mercedes and their Formula One car. Why? Because the rules say you're going to run this race, but you're only going to be allowed X amount of gas, of fuel, whether it's ethanol or gasoline, high octane fuel. We're only going to give you X amount of fuel. So you can have Tom, Dick, and Harry, and you can have a faster car than Tom, or Dick. But if Harry's car gets better fuel mileage, you guys are going to run out of fuel because you're only going to get so much fuel. And we got it figured where at 2.4 miles per gallon, you can just finish the finish line, just like Rossi did about 3 years ago when he won the Indianapolis 500 because he did not stop for fuel. And yet he ran out of gas going to the staging lane after the race. How perfect was that? That's all the time that we have for today. I hope if you enjoyed it, remember, folks, if you're like Jim in Mississippi or Bob in New York, FordParts.com is your one-stop shop for Motorcraft, Ford parts, Ford accessories, and Omnicraft parts. That's for all cars. FordParts.com also features high-quality parts, images, line art, diagrams, and detailed descriptions. Check it out, the right part, and track your orders. FordParts.com. Find it, buy it, and get back to work. Until next week, I'm Bobby Likis. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Save on your next oil change at O'Reilly Auto Parts when you purchase 5 quarts of Valvoline conventional motor oil and a MicroGuard filter for $24.99. Plus, get a $5 O'Reilly Auto Parts gift card after a mail-in rebate. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Repairing a coolant leak can be costly and typically happens to older vehicles that may not be worth the expensive fix. K-Seal is an alternative, a pour-in solution designed to stop leaks and help prevent future leaks. Older sealers use sodium silicate, which has the tendency to clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair the leak without clogging. K-Seal is available nationwide at parts stores like AutoZone. Learn more at kseal.com. That's kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. You're a